Okay, Chris here again, and welcome to lesson 3. So as you know, this course is part of a 3-part project. So if you have not watched video 1 or video 2, just go back and watch them and complete the challenges before we do this one. Okay, so let's have a look at what we're going to do today. So here's the agenda. We're going to look at the difference between the question types, because it's really important that you understand the type of questions that you're going to be asked in part 3 and the differences between part 1, part 2 and part 3, but especially part 1 and part 3, because they're very, very different questions. And if you're answering them in the same way, you're going to be in trouble. Common problems, as always, so we can avoid them. Some solutions for these common problems so we can help avoid them on test day. And then I'm going to give you 2 different strategies that you can use to answer and practice, most importantly, practice question or part 3 questions. And then we're going to give you a couple of demos. I'm going to demonstrate how I would answer some of these questions. We'll get a student to demonstrate this for you, and then we'll give you your final challenge. Okay, so I want you to have a look at these 2 questions. This is a typical part 1 question, and this is a typical part 3 question. I just want you to have a look at these and think about what the main difference is between these 2 questions. So, oh, I've missed my question mark. I deleted it. So what did you do last weekend versus why do many people spend their free time shopping? So both of these are about your free time, your leisure time, or what you do at the weekend. The topic is the same, but what's the difference in the type of question? So if we look at this one is about you. It is asking about what did you do last weekend. So you're not talking generally about free time, you're not talking generally about what people do at the weekends, you're just telling them, you know, I watched football, I went out to dinner, I went shopping, whatever. Part 3, very, very different. Same topic, but why do many people spend their free time shopping? So this is not about you, okay? This is not about you at all. You can talk about you, that's fine, but it is asking you an abstract question about the world in general. The best way to describe part 3 questions is they're kind of like a task 2 writing question, like an academic style question where they want you to really get into the topic and fully develop it. Not just say, I don't go shopping on the weekends. That wouldn't be a very good answer. Or if you said, I don't know, I don't go shopping. They don't care whether you go shopping or you love shopping or you hate shopping. It's not about you. It is about the abstract idea. Let's have a look at another example. Most common question in part 1 is, do you work or study? All right, so I work, here's my job, or I study, I'm at university and I study this thing. Let's have a look at part 3. They would never ask that in part 3. More young people are going to university. Do you think this is a good thing? Okay, so you could talk about when you were at university, but they're not really asking about you. They're asking you about this abstract idea of more and more young people are going to university these days. Do you think this is a positive thing, or do you think this is a negative thing? Or why do some people think it's positive and why do some people think it's negative? And really getting into the detail of this. Don't worry if you don't understand how to answer this question right now. By the end of this lesson, you will understand a bit more. Okay, so let's have a look at some part 3 speaking problems and worries, things that people really worry about and problems that we see every day. The biggest problem, the number 1 problem, let's put this in red, is a lack of development. The examiner is really listening out for and looking for your ability to fully develop your ideas. So for part 1, you know, what's your job? You just need to add a little bit more detail, maybe an explanation, maybe an example. But for part 3, they want you to talk at length. They want you to talk and get really in depth on that idea and fully explain things, give examples, show different sides, and we'll show you how to do that in the strategy. But if you're just giving, you know, 1 or 2 sentence answers for part 3, that's not good enough. I'm not going to tell you the number of sentences because it will differ from question to question. So you shouldn't go in thinking about number of sentences, but you should go in thinking, have I fully developed this answer? Doesn't mean that you need to talk for 30 minutes about one question, but we'll show you how to do this in a second. A worry that students have is, I won't have any ideas. It is not an ideas test. So worrying about ideas I understand why students are worried about this, because in order to develop your ideas, you need to have ideas in the first place, but it's not something you really need to worry about that much, because the examiner is not judging you on your ideas. The examiner is judging you on your pronunciation, your grammar, your vocabulary, and your fluency and coherence. So I wouldn't worry too much about these ideas. You're not being judged on them so much, but we'll talk about that more later in the lesson. Listing. So one thing that students do a lot of is they will list every idea that comes into their head. So for example, why do more people go shopping at the weekend? People go shopping because they like shopping, they have more money, they want to buy new clothes, there are lots of restaurants and shopping centers, it's a safe place, they want to spend time with their family. So all of those ideas are fine. Many students who worry about ideas have actually no problem thinking of ideas, and they just list idea after idea after idea after idea. You're not going to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to take one of those ideas, or maybe two of those ideas, and fully develop them, fully explain them, give examples of them. So I think I listed like 6 or 7 ideas there. What you should be doing is taking one of them. So for example, I said people have more money. Why do people have more money? Why are they spending it on clothes, or what are they spending it on? Can you give me an example of this? So you're going really in depth on 1 or 2 ideas rather than listing lots of ideas. Again, many people worry about vocabulary, that these topics are things that they don't really understand, or they're difficult questions, and they worry that their vocabulary is not good enough. You are being judged on your vocabulary, but remember, you're being judged on the accuracy of your vocabulary and the range of your vocabulary. So what happens is, what students try and do is they try and insert lots of high-level words, or lots of idioms, or whatever you want to call them, golden words, diamond words, I've heard people call them, and they're not really answering the question. If you just try and answer the question and fully develop it and use the vocabulary that you have, you will naturally use a wide range of vocabulary, and then you will avoid mistakes because you're using vocabulary that you're comfortable using. But if you try and push yourself too much, then you're going to get in trouble, because you're going to make lots of mistakes. Your fluency is going to suffer because you are having to think about the vocabulary very hard. So what my suggestion would be for vocabulary, use the vocabulary that you have. Before the test, try and improve it every single day, but during the test, just use the vocabulary that you have. You've no other choice. The other choice is try and use vocabulary you don't know how to use, and then you're going to make lots of mistakes. This is another common thing where we see in part 3 is people just not attempting the answer at all, or saying, I don't know, or saying, that's an interesting question, and then not saying anything, or I've never thought about that before, and then saying nothing. The questions will get more difficult and more difficult and more difficult, because the examiner is testing you, is trying to stretch your linguistic ability. If you get difficult questions, that means that the examiner thinks that you're good. If you don't get any difficult questions in part 3, they don't think you're good. There's no point in trying to test you too much. But what they're looking for is you to attempt the answer. If you don't attempt, then they can't give you any score for that answer whatsoever, and you're going to drop down. But even if you know nothing about that topic, or you don't really know anything about it, at least try and make an attempt, because that is what the examiner is looking for. And if you are overthinking your ideas, and you're trying to think of really impressive ideas, and you're trying to think of really impressive vocabulary, and you're thinking about it too much, overthinking is going to cause fluency problems. As people see these questions, they're like, oh, I've never thought about that before. It's not a test of your knowledge. It's not a test of your IQ. It's a test of your speaking. All they want you to do is attempt an answer and show how good your fluency, your pronunciation, your grammar and vocabulary are. And people worry again about not enough knowledge. It's not a knowledge test. It is a speaking test. So always remember that. So let's look at just some solutions. Purpose. What is the purpose of the speaking test? Is it to show off your ideas? No. Is it to show off how much grammar and vocabulary you've memorized? No. It is a speaking test. Can you clearly communicate with someone in an English-speaking country or non-English-speaking country if they are an English speaker? They are testing the purpose, which is a speaking test. So don't worry too much about ideas. Don't worry too much about trying to use fancy vocabulary and grammar. Just focus on speaking, all right? Don't overthink it. Just focus on clearly communicating naturally with the examiner. And you can practice doing that. It is about practice. Once you start to get in the habit of practicing this, the way that we're showing it to you, it becomes very, very natural. Solution number 2, it is a discussion, I can't speak, I'm teaching speaking, it is a discussion of ideas, all right? It's not about you, it is a discussion of ideas. In the same way, kind of like an essay response, like an academic task 2 essay response. If you're watching this video, you know what academic writing task 2 is and how you kind of structure an answer and how you would put an answer on paper. That's what you're looking for. So for example, you would answer the question, explain, give example, show the other side, state another point. This discussion of ideas, and we'll show you more about this, but that's the best way to think about part 3. And solution number 3, accept that it will get harder. Attempt an answer, and you're not being judged on one question. It is going to get harder and harder and harder and harder. And if it does, you should think, yes, this is great, because the examiner has a range of questions for part 3, easy ones, middle ones, and hard ones. If they think that you're good, they will ask you more and more difficult questions. So if you get a difficult question, you say yes and attempt the answer at least, even if you have no idea. So if you've no idea, say, I really have never thought about that, I have no idea, but if I had to give an answer, this is what I would say, and just attempt an answer. And you're not, if you get one question that you really, really struggle with, remember you are being judged on the totality, all of your answers, not one answer. It's not like you're band 7, band 7, band 7, band 7, and then you get a difficult question and you drop down to a 5. That's not how it works. Attempt the answer, try your best, leave it and move on to the next one. And don't get really stressed out, because often people get a question they don't understand, and then they'll get a little bit stressed out, and then it'll affect their fluency, their grammar and vocabulary. Just do your best. That's all you can do. Okay, so strategy 1. Very, very simply, answer the question, explain, and then give an example. Okay, so remember we showed you these questions here. So question here was, why do many people spend their free time shopping? Okay, so answer the question, think of an idea, explain that, and give an example. So many people like to spend time shopping, especially on the weekend, because there's not only shops in many shopping centers, there's a variety of things such as cinemas and restaurants. So the reason why people love this is they can go to just one place and they can go there with their family, and there's so much choice that they can do a little bit of shopping, then they can get something to eat, and then they can bring their kids to the cinema, or if they're on a date or something like that, then they can go to the cinema as well, or the bowling alley. There's a lot of leisure activities as well. For example, in the city near where I live, there's a place called Victoria Square. It's all under one roof, and they have designer shops, they have a great movie house, they have a range of restaurants such as like Wagamama and Burger King and Pizza Hut, and we love to go there at the weekend just so that we can get a variety of different leisure activities. So we're not only doing shopping, we're doing all the other things in the shopping centre, and that's what most shopping centres are doing now in the UK, because they know that people want a variety of choices. So you can see what I did there. All I did was simply answer the question, then I explained it, and then I give an example. All right? You can do that for pretty much any question. Don't go into the test though and think very rigidly, like I'm going to answer every single question in this way, but it's a good way to think and a good way to practice your questions. But allow yourself that flexibility. Strategy number 2 is, where is strategy number 2? Here we go. Strategy number 2 is, it's 3 parts. Part 1, part 2, and part 3. So some people think this, explain why they think it and give an example. Others think this, explain why and give an example. And I think this. All right, so let's have a look at the other question that we had for an example. More young people are going to university. Do you think this is a good thing? Okay, so some people would think this is a really, really positive development because it means that there are more poor people going into university, and this reduces the gap between rich and poor, which is very, very important for society, for equality. For example, in the UK in the last 20 years, they have really pushed free university places for poorer students, and now more than 50% of students go to university. However, many people think that this is not a good thing, that this is actually a negative development, because there are lots of young people who are not suited to academics. They are not academically inclined. They would be better getting a job in the trades. So for example, many people who want to become carpenters or mechanics or even software engineers, for example, who don't need to go to university, they can learn that in an apprenticeship, and they'd be much happier doing that. And if they are forced to go to university, it is a huge waste of money. I think it should be based on the individual student. If they want to study something that can only be covered in university, like medicine or law, they should go there. But if not, they should go into a trade, and there's no need for them to get all that student debt. So you can see what I did there. What I did was, some people think this, so I didn't say what I think. Some people think this, others think this, and then this is what I think. So that allowed me to talk and fully develop my answers. So a demo, what I'm going to do now is show you a student who got a band 9, Rashmi, and you'll be able to see how she fully developed her answers. So now I want to talk about money and society in general. Can money buy happiness?
This seems like a philosophical question, but for me personally, I don't think so. Money is not everything. I do volunteer at a lot of places, so I know that I do that because mostly I'm an introvert. I don't really talk much, but when I'm volunteering with people, I gain valuable experience, and that's how I learned that money is not everything. To some people, yes, money can make them less miserable, as long as you are not like homeless or desperate for food putting food on the table, and as long as you have like a shelter, a roof over your head, and food on the table at night. That's all you need, for me personally. So it depends on people, like what money means to them. But to me, I don't think it can buy happiness.
Okay guys, so now it's your turn. So what we're going to do is I'm going to jump into my computer, share my screen with you, and show you what your challenge is for today. Okay guys, now comes the fun part where you are going to record your speaking and then send it to us. So your task, and this is really important. If you don't do this, then it is a complete waste of time, and you're not going to improve, and you're going to miss out on the chance to get better and get feedback on your work. Okay, so it is a really simple 4-step process that you are going to follow in order to record your voice and send it to us. So the first step, step 1, download a free voice recorder app for your phone. So if you are an Apple person, if you have an Apple phone, go to the App Store. If you have an Android phone, go to the Google Play Store. And in both of those stores, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of free voice recorder apps that just make it really, really simple for you to hit a button and it automatically records your voice. Don't ask me which one to choose. There are too many to choose from. Just pick the one that you want to choose. It's not that difficult. So step 2 in the 4-step process, answer these questions and record your voice. So you should have a phone, you should have an app on your phone that records your voice. You're going to look at these questions and don't pre-prepare the questions, don't research the questions, just pretend that you are in the actual exam and you are reading the questions just like the same way that the examiner would be asking you those questions. So look at the question, answer it. Second question, answer it. Third question, answer it. That's all you have to do. Okay guys, so now we're going to look at 4 part 3 questions. You should look at each question and attempt to answer each of these questions. Don't worry if one of the or two of the questions are like really difficult or you've never thought about that before. You need to attempt an answer. So get your phone, look at each question, hit record, record your voice and answer the questions. Step 3. Send it to us via email. So this is super simple to do. You can do this on your phone or you can do this on your desktop. So you will have my email address because I will have emailed you multiple times. So all you have to do is this. So imagine you are on Gmail, you could be on Yahoo, Hotmail, whatever. Just click the email that I sent you, click reply and then attach the audio file to your email and just hit send. If you have any problems whatsoever, then my email address is chris@ieltsadvantage.com. Alright, this is my email address, chris@ieltsadvantage.com, but you will have received it many times before. Next is this. Okay, so now that you have sent us your recording, what I want you to do is just wait, have a look at your email inbox, and we will send you your feedback video right to your inbox. And then it's really important that you look at this feedback that we send to you so that you can really learn what to do and really improve. Guys, thank you so much for completing this challenge. It's our mission at IELTS Advantage to help people improve their IELTS scores, and in order to do that we need great students like you who participate. So I want to thank you for making it through this 3-step course, completing the challenges, and look at the feedback that we're going to give you for challenge 3. And I'm sure that you have other worries relating to IELTS. You might need help with reading, need help with writing, need help with listening, or you might need extra help like one-on-one lessons or one-on-one feedback on your speaking. If you want to do that, we have a limited number of places on our VIP course. It is the most successful course in the world. We have helped more people get the score they need than anybody else online or offline. We have more success stories than anybody else. However, we are successful because we only work with a really small number of students. So there will be an email coming your way to offer you a place on the VIP course. And if you want to take that, this is your chance. If you have any questions relating to IELTS whatsoever, just reply to any of the emails that we've sent you and you can ask a question in there and we will happily respond to you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.